Hey everybody, in this video we are going to be talking about live streaming your church, and talking at a kind of a high level, the differences between live streaming a church service and actually doing virtual church. Hi, welcome to Stream Your Church with the Church Media Guys. I'm Dave. With me, as always, is my lovely and talented partner. He loves it when I say that, Justin Nava. By the way, if you guys want to learn how to leverage media and amplify the gospel and change lives, then you can start right now by clicking the subscribe button and ringing the bell so that you won't miss a thing, because that's what we talk about here. Welcome to everybody from the Church Media Guys YouTube channel and social channels, and welcome to our partners on Ecamm and all of their channels. This show is powered by Ecamm, by the way, which means we are using their software, which, as you can tell, is pretty deadgum high quality. And by the way, that's one of the things we're going to be talking a lot about as we go through this series, is their software and how we can implement it in the live streaming of our church. Justin, how are you?
I'm doing well, and oh boy, normally when we start off shows and you introduce me, I go through the chat and I just give a shout out to everyone. We are in like 4 different chats, and I don't know if I can do it. What's going on? Meath, Nathan, Luria is here, Katie's here, Nick, Bradley, Alex, John, Lemuel. Let's see, over on our side, Big D's back, Christopher, Luis, Sharon, Kat's here, John. Oh man, Kadar, man, welcome, or Kader. Boy, I am certainly going to try. There's no guarantee I'm going to get your name right. What's going on, everybody? We've got dozens of people watching, and I am very excited to see all you guys here from everywhere. We got people from Trinidad, Sri Lanka, the Philippines, of course, America. We are so excited. We've got now a worldwide audience. We've always had a worldwide audience, but now it's just even more worldwide. Would you call us Misters Worldwide?
Yeah,
Because there's two
why
of
not?
us, right? We don't get in trouble if Mr. Worldwide is taken, but we can be Misters Worldwide. So what's going on, everybody? By all means, welcome. And question of the day, leave a question. We always like to ask a question at the beginning. Question of the day: is your church streaming? And on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you with it? 1 being, boy, I don't like our streams at all, and a 10 being which pretty much would just be Hillsong if they're watching. We're super happy. We're perfect. How are you? That's a 10. So on a scale from 1 to 10, where are you? Let us know. Put that number in the chat. The Stream Your Church here today, we're running on Ecamm Live. We are episode 00 because we want to practice what we preach. And a lot of people will tell you, oh, just start. And these people are coming at you from a $3,000, $5,000 studio that they've built up over the last 5 years. Dave's streaming from his office, as you can see. I'm streaming from my office studio. Dave's using equipment that, yes, he's built up over the last couple dozen years because he's a dinosaur. I am streaming with equipment that I've only been collecting since 2018, and I have not purchased I think the only thing I've actually purchased out of my own wallet is the chair I'm sitting in. Everything else I've built up as a result of asking for birthday and anniversary presents. And, you know, it's so romantic. I take my wife out to dinner. We get a hotel. I get her jewelry. And she's like, what would you like? And I'm just like, a microphone. So Christmas gifts. I have built all this up from just years of swag and gifts. So I have not spent any money on this stuff. Some of it's donation. The camera I'm using, Dave, you gave me. The webcam I have over here, that's Cam 2, has been given to me. The keyboard's been given to me just as a donation of, I need this. And someone's like, hey, I have an extra one. So, and then also we're starting with no graphics, very little bit of quality here as far as, you know, lower thirds and extra stuff, because we wanted to just start, right? We could have spent another month planning. We could have spent another few $100s on equipment, but we tell you guys to just start, and we want to model what that looks like. And guess what? You're still here. You're still watching. You're still nodding your head in agreement. You're chuckling in joy, because it's the content that matters, and we can enhance the content. But if you have all the pretty bells and whistles, but you have nothing to say behind it, then do you really have anything to say? Are you really streaming anything of quality? We would say it's probably not. So we want to focus on the content. So First thing I want to do today, we're going to answer some of your questions. So keep the questions coming. We've got our wonderful
By the way,
moderators. Go ahead, Dave.
do us a favor real quick. Put a pound sign, hashtag, and question before you write your question. That way it'll jump out at us a little bit. If you do
Yeah,
that, we'd really appreciate it because there's a
we've
lot of
got
chat.
our yeah, exactly. A lot is coming through. It's so exciting. We've got our wonderful moderators, Dave's wife, Kat, and our very. I am we are so blessed to have Chris and Ryan, but we've got Christopher today moderating, so he's collecting stuff. And if you see him in the chat on YouTube, he's moderating the YouTube side. Say hello to him. We're very excited and blessed to have him. Leave your questions. We'll try to, with hashtag question, we'll try to answer those as we go along. Today, we want to do a quick introduction about ourselves, me and Dave, if we've never met before, because we are reaching several more people now that we're partnered with Ecamm. We're going to talk a little bit about Ecamm and the setup we're using, but then we also want to talk about the unique challenges that come with streaming your church service. We talked a little bit in the pre-show, so if you missed it, you won't get to see that after a couple hours when it gets trimmed out. But we'll talk a little bit about the uniqueness of what it means to stream for the church, what it means to stream every week, what it means to work off a budget where you're not bringing in income, you're really bringing in donations. And so we say in the church world, you want to be a good steward of your resources. What does that mean? We're going to talk about that in future episodes. We're going to talk about online giving. We're going to talk about equipment, hardware, video, audio, lighting. It's really going to be like a back to basics. And this is a journey we're going to go along. And we want to make sure that you are heard. We want to make sure that your questions get in front of our faces. And some of them will be quick questions. Some of them we can answer right away. Some of them, we might say, we're going to have to do a whole episode on that. And some of them we might tell you, we're going to talk about that, but we've already covered it in Church Training Academy. Go and we'll link to a YouTube video. We want you to have the most value, and that's the best way that we know how to do it. Our Church Training Academy followers love it. Our Church Media Guys followers love it. Our CTA insiders love it. And we are very excited for the journey we have here. And of course, thank you to Katie and Ecamm for not only partnering us, but listening to their community. They had a lot of church people come in because of the COVID pandemic, and a lot of church people that are figuring it out. And for some reason, they found Ecamm before they found us, which we're thankful for because we love Ecamm. I love Ecamm. And they said, we want someone that knows the business, so to speak. And so we brought on. So that brings us to Stream Your Church with the Church Media Guys powered by Ecamm. Dave, we usually do something with our guests, but I want to do it here with us. And this is lightning round questions. So our guests can get to know us a little bit better and decide whether or not they want to keep watching. You ready, Dave?
Sure.
So I think we're going to trade off here. So I'm going to ask you first, and then you ask me, and we'll go a couple rounds. You ready?
Yes.
Coke or Pepsi, Dave?
Oh, Coke, definitely. Pepsi.
Okay. Now you ask me one.
Okay, Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
Yes, and that's the only right answer. Just
that is, yeah.
Yeah,
that's one of the
Star
filter
Trek,
questions.
Yeah, that's the you can watch our show or you can not watch our show. Star Trek is great. We love Star Trek, but dude, the world revolves around Star Wars. Come on.
Yeah, we could talk about that ad nauseum elsewhere. Yeah, so Dave, we can see your background. You've got a lot of Star Wars stuff. You got droids, bounty hunters. So let me ask you this.
Yes.
Marvel or DC?
Ooh, Marvel. Definitely Marvel.
Thank you.
I enjoy DC. They've got some great stuff. They have literally no continuity whatsoever in any of their cinema universe, whether it's television or movies. And so I don't think they're really committed to excellent storytelling. So
they are in the comics. It's like I say, and anyone that does comics will know what I'm talking about. DC has the best supervillain.
Uh-huh.
The problem is they that's their only good one.
Yeah.
Let's see, Dave. Tea or coffee?
Oh, coffee.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I love
give me one more here.
And you, classical or jazz?
Ooh, jazz all the way. And believe it or not, I did high school. I'm a band nerd. I have a music major. I went to college and dropped a lot of money on a music degree. Look at where it got me. But never played a lick of jazz until college, and I fell in love with it.
Yeah, I love jazz. So, so just real quick, a little subset of that. What's your favorite jazz era? Let's go by decade.
Let's go with oh man. I would go
See,
a little bit before now. Gordon Goodwin is probably because I like the big band sound, and I think he
yeah,
nailed it in the modern era. But it's not
right,
really
right.
like the contemporary era. So, probably 80s and 90s when we're past the experimental avant-garde stuff, and now we're into the big band, but like really big band, big sound stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and just being uh, organized chaos in the band sound. That's kind of my
Hmm.
favorite era. So,
For me,
yeah.
it's the late 40s and then into the 50s, before they got into all the super duper experimental stuff.
Exactly.
Duke
Yeah.
Ellington, stuff
Hmm.
like that.
The
Uh,
Duke, the Count, absolutely.
Count Basie. Oh man, I grew up listening to Count Basie and the Mills Brothers and stuff like that, so I really like that stuff.
Yeah, Dave, you're looking really good for 83 years old, by the way. So congratulations on that. So
Thanks, man.
that is a little bit about us. I see some people are participating in the chat, and we love it. Chris said he was a Star Wars fan until Disney.
Yeah, we have this ongoing thing with Chris. We're yeah, but he also likes Star Trek and Pepsi. So it's his his judgment is usually called into question, stuff like that. And we're kind of wondering whether we should actually let him talk to viewers and stuff now. So no, we love Chris. He's allowed to be as wrong as he wants, and that's okay. That's
That's okay.
we're
We still love you. All right,
hey.
so let's
I,
so
I got
that's a little bit about us. Okay, go ahead.
So we've got a question. Taryn in our church media hacks group asks, says they have about $300 to $400 to spend on a camera and wants to know what's good, and is asking if the Mevo camera is good. The Mevo camera is good, but I wouldn't start there unless you're just like you literally have nothing to do. I mean, you have nothing. You don't have a computer. You don't have you got an iPad and you need to do something. Then grab a Mevo and you can get started and have some pretty good quality. But if you have a little bit of infrastructure, for example, you got a soundboard and you got a computer that you're using, so you can actually kick up the level and stuff. Grab one of these. This is the Canon Vixia from Canon. It's the HF R800. I've been using Vixias for well over 10 years. In fact, back in the early days when Luria Petrucci and I started live streaming, back when live streaming was starting, she and I were there like doing it, doing like full productions and stuff like that in the early days. We were using Vixias, and we always had them on hand and loved them and stuff. And this one's like $300, if you buy a kit. I bought one just to have it here so that I could incorporate it into my setup and be able to like talk to y'all and say, hey, click on this menu, that kind of thing. Justin is using it right now. I'm using one of their big brothers. But Justin is using a Vixia, and if y'all just look at him, smile for the people there, Justin. You can see he's looking really good, and it's a good camera, and it works great in churches. It's a great place to start.
Yeah, 100%. Kadar said, is it legal to share Facebook video to another Facebook page? If you're using the share button on Facebook, yeah,
Yeah,
that they want you to do that. If you see it,
yeah.
I do it all the time for my church. I go and find, because I'm not going to upload a music video that I downloaded from YouTube. That's illegal to download from YouTube, but or against their terms of service. But if a Facebook page shares a video and you're like, I really like that, hit that share button and share it over. If it's inside a group, oftentimes we do this a lot in our church media hacks group. People will share the videos that they created, and people will say, hey, this is really great. Can I share this to my church page? And they'll say, yes. Here's a Google Drive link or a Dropbox link. Then if you have their permission, and you can download the video and then share it to your own page. So that's that. A few more quick questions before we get into our main topic of virtual church versus online church versus in-person church. Someone asked, how does Ecamm compare to StreamYard? I have been on the interview side of StreamYard. I've been brought into a couple of StreamYard interviews. Our friend Kevin Kobe uses it. Mr. Church Marketer uses it. I have not been on the administrator side of using it. I like how simple it is. I think it compares to Ecamm as well. It is a browser application from what I've seen. I haven't seen a desktop app, or if it is, I haven't seen it. But it looks really good. It looks really easy to get up and started. The thing I like about Ecamm, and you'll hear me talk about this a lot, is they are constantly improving. I told this to Katie, their communications director. I don't know her exact title, but I said, every time I open up Ecamm, it seems like there's another update, and it's got even more stuff that I didn't know that I wanted. I love the Ecamm team. They are fast. They are very responsive. Anytime I have a question about something, and this is again why I like something like Ecamm versus OBS that's open source, they have a team that can examine my streaming data, my streaming history, and tell me where the errors are coming from. They have fantastic support. I just don't know what StreamYard looks like from that end of the administration. So I think a lot of stuff is going to be similar. But again, Ecamm, because you have the support and the team, and it's that person is why I keep going back to Ecamm. So I don't know all the technical specifics other than StreamYard is browser and Ecamm's an app, and of course Ecamm is Mac only. So that's kind of what I know. So again, it's Ecamm just keeps surprising me. Go ahead, Dave.
Address that real quick. StreamYard, like several other services, are browser based, and one of the benefits of something like StreamYard, and there's several different ones out there, but one of the benefits is it's very plug and play. So you basically sign up, set your account up, give it access to your webcam and to your audio source, and then you can send out links and other people can join you. It makes doing an interview show very easy. They suffer on the quality side. And the reason that they suffer on the quality side is because it is all happening in the cloud. So what's happening is my video signal. Okay, so right now I'm using a $5,000 broadcast quality camera here with a great video signal. I have to stream that signal up to their server, and then Justin has to stream his camera or webcam or whatever up to their server. The guest will stream their stuff up to the server. It then gets mixed together and encoded and streamed back out. So think about if you had a document and you made a copy of it and then took that copy and made a copy of it and then took that copy and made a copy. You get this generational loss that happens. Whereas with something that is local to the system, the perfect example being Ecamm, my camera, or we'll flip this around because Justin's actually doing the driving today. Justin's camera is going straight into a capture card, going straight into the software. So he's getting a pristine image, okay? Mine is going into Skype, and then Skype is running on his system and pulling my image in. So mine's being encoded and going up the line. So tit for tat, his camera is going to have much higher quality because you're getting a full 50 megabits worth of video data coming from that camera into the capture device, going into the software, Ecamm, and then being encoded. And mine is an MP4 session, basically a streaming session coming in and then being re-encoded. Okay, so the more that you can do local to the system, like if Justin were here and he was on camera across the room, and that was going into Ecamm here on my machine, and then my camera's going in, and we're actually doing the mixing here. The quality is immensely better because we're not sending something up to the cloud, mixing it, and then streaming it back out. So yeah, I say, depending on what you are doing, these various options offer pros and cons and stuff. I personally don't standardize on stuff like that across the board. I know some people that when they do a multi guest show, like they're going to bring in 5, 6, 7, however many people throughout the course. Nick Nimmin is one of them. He'll use StreamYard because it's really easy for him to spin up guests and spin them back out very quickly. He doesn't have to do a whole lot of heavy lifting. So he does that. His quality is not great as it is when he's doing it all local and not bringing in guests, and he's using different software.
Yep, 100%. Mark Holder said, how do you set up church ticketing for church? Real quick answer. We talked about this on our Church Media Guys show yesterday. You can go to churchtrainingacademy.com/YouTube or just search our channel on YouTube. Just real quick answer. Use your church management system. Planning Center has a really good one. If you don't have one that can do it, Eventbrite will do free ticketing for churches. It's a free, as long as it's a free event, then you can do a free ticketing system through Eventbrite. So go check them out. And Mr. Church Marketer, Rock Davis, who I mentioned that uses StreamYard, he even said, Ecamm and vMix are going to be better quality, just because your computer is handling the encoding and all that. All right, Dave, let's talk a little bit. Let's keep the questions coming in. We will answer them after we talk about our main subject today, the meat and potatoes, as you will. We're
And
talking today.
just real quick, if we don't get to your questions, we're keeping a log of all your questions, stuff, and we'll just churn out some videos discussing some of these, or couple them into an episode of the show, or just single videos. So either way,
Yeah.
we're trying to get to all of them.
100%. So don't be shy to ask. So we're talking about today. We wanted to really kind of set some definitions and almost kind of DTR. Do you have that growing up in church? DTR, define the relationship. What are the different methods of streaming when it comes to church? What is the difference when we say online church, virtual church, remote church, local church? There's a lot of definitions that are kind of all over the board. And we just wanted to take episode 00 to really define them going forward. So when we say things like virtual church, what are we really talking about? So let's start in the 90s.
Okay.
Well, even before that, because you could still kind of go to the TV. We have the local church when we talk about the church. So we oftentimes will say the local church. This is the group gathering in your neighborhood, in your city, in your community. This is where the typical Sunday morning, put your clothes on, put your nice clothes on, your Sunday clothes. I mean, obviously you're gonna put clothes on, put on your Sunday best and go to church, and you're going to sit in a pew or sit in chairs and go to Sunday school and then go to worship and listen to the pastor, and then you go home. That's the local church, right? The way it's evolved is now church may look different. It could meet on Sunday nights. It could meet on the weekdays. You could have small groups that meet throughout the week in place of Sunday school, but that's still connecting with people in person as a local body is the way we say it, the local body. That's the local church. With the advent of the internet, and especially coming out in the last few years, starting even before the pandemic, we have what came out to be the online church. Okay. So this is where you don't have a local body. Instead, you connect with people through the internet, and you don't know your pastor face to face. Probably you can live in totally different states, but you form a church body online where you have worship, music, maybe a live band online, and then a pastor, and then maybe you have small groups like Sunday school, but you meet in an environment like Facebook groups or Slack channels or Discord or something like that. But the whole church experience takes place online. Does that all make sense? Is that tracking? Did I miss anything, Dave?
No, that's pretty good. That's and that a good example of that actually, Justin, is your church. Yours is more like an online church, a virtual church, or distributed church. For the sake of argument, what you and I talk about most times is the live streaming your church service and doing virtual church. And when we say virtual church, we usually mean kind of what a lot of churches have had to do in the last 2-3 months, which is change up the way they're doing it, not have a physical audience that they're talking to in the congregation, the event inside the room, but do things where they're addressing the camera directly, like I'm addressing this camera directly. Just separate real quick that idea of like a distributed church or a online only type church, like what you guys do. Let them know.
So my church, Crosswaves Church, I wouldn't even bring into this conversation, but thank you, Dave. It's a very new idea. So
some people think like that, though. That's
I
what
hope
they think.
So. Especially with the pandemic. So my church, Crosswaves Church, if you just go look up crosswaveschurch.com, we are a network of groups underneath a single organization. So kind of like you have a church that you go to and worship, but then you have Sunday school groups or small groups that meet in homes. Well, we have one church, but we have home groups across the nation. And so we have a local church body that meets in groups in homes, but we're underneath the Crosswaves Church organization. So we have a pastor that preaches to us every week as we meet in homes, and then we serve our community and we meet in small groups. And then we have a pastor that teaches, which we watch through our TV app or however we do it. So that is kind of like a network of home churches. You do have home churches where people say, we're going to start our own church, and we start meeting in homes, but they have no organization. They don't have any leadership. We are kind of a network of groups. We call them hotspots underneath the Crosswaves Church organization. So we have a lead pastor. We have centralized giving and finances that goes back into our community and organized. We are part of the Southern Baptist Convention. So we do their programs and co-op and all that stuff. So it's kind of like a decentralized church body. But we have members all over the country that meet in groups. So the other definition that I started using that I'm hoping will catch on, so I'm going to selfishly bring it up, is the remote church. Now, when I say remote church, this is more of what we're doing during the pandemic. This is when you have a local body that can no longer meet, and so now you meet remotely. This can be through Zoom, small groups. This can be through live streaming, but it is a local body that you can just not meet together. So you meet remotely.
Right.
I don't think it's a permanent thing because either it becomes, if it's permanent, it's just online church. If you're just never going to meet these people in person, or maybe you do a conference and you meet them once a year, that's an online church. But what we're doing right now in our churches, in fact, my former home church, they started meeting, but in the valley, in the Rio Grande Valley, COVID cases are spiking back up real bad. And so they started to said, we're not going to meet in person. We're only going to do online meetings now. That's remote church. It's kind of like a temporary thing when you can't meet together as a local body. So if I say remote church, that's like a local body where everyone's kind of within 5 to 10 miles of each other, but they can't meet in person, so they do church remotely. You'll also hear virtual church. Dave, virtual church, how would you define that?
It's kind of like that remote thing. For me, virtual church and remote church are kind of go hand in hand, because virtual church seems to be something that could be a little bit more permanent, whereas remote is, something that you make an account for. It's like for the next couple of weeks we have to do it this way, but that's not how we're going to be doing business, on a day-to-day basis. I think, so that everybody understands, we may do an episode where we talk about the digital church, which basically, I think the example that you guys have, your church, is actually the perfect example of that, because it's a mixture of remote resources, but a local body working together. So, and that's the critical thing, is the local experience, the local community, and receiving instruction or Bible teaching or whatever from a singular remote source is really no different than grabbing a Bible study DVD series, or Blu-ray series, and using that to do a Bible study. So that's we can talk about that. We can do an episode on that and what kind of things go into making that up. I'm always up for doing that. For the sake of what we talk about, we kind of hit that virtual church, that virtual/remote church or whatever, and the normal live streaming of your church services. And here's how I put it. Step back for a sec. Let's all just stipulate we're here for ministry, okay? So I'm going to talk strictly from a production side, with the understanding that we're here to change lives and we're here to do a ministry. Okay, so we all understand that. So I don't want to hear anybody going, well, but it's not about all the production. It's not all about all the wonderful cameras. It's about the lives you're teaching. Okay, I don't want to hear any of that garbage, because what we're doing is we are doing production, okay? Now, you're doing a TV show each week, whether you realize your church service that happens each week. Let's step back for a minute and take a look at it objectively, what has happened. If anybody in here, and tell me if you've ever been to a conference of any kind, where you go and you have, sessions and you have speakers and you have, dinners and meetups and stuff like that, just say yes in the chats real quick, just so I know that everybody's coming from the same place. Basically, when you go to a conference, there's kind of this formula, And the formula is you have a keynote speaker, then you may have some breakout sessions, and then you may have like a lunch. You may have entertainment one night. One night you may have a little concert or something. I was at a conference. I went to a conference for real estate um, agents, like people that specialize in a certain area of the real estate market. And I went there to shoot a whole bunch of B-roll for my client and stuff. And we had an REO Speedwagon concert. So I mean, like there's like 500 people in the room, and REO Speedwagon's right there. And so that was cool. So that was just an aside. Can't fight that feeling anymore. Sorry. Anyway, those conferences that we're all familiar with, that exact same thing is happening on Sunday morning at your church, whether you realize it or not, because you are having breakout sessions or workshops. We call that Sunday school. We call that Bible study. We call that life groups, whatever, term of the week you guys use at your church. That's what that is. It's a breakout session. It's a workshop, small group of people that are studying a specific topic. We also have a lot of networking that happens in the hallways. We have sometimes we have a lunch, because we have our covered dish luncheons where someone brings the chicken, someone brings the macaroni and cheese and the pies and all that sort of stuff. We all are familiar with that. We have a keynote speaker. In fact, we have a mini concert that happens in our big session, and then we have a keynote address, and then we may have a minor concert session or concert that happens after that. So when you take a look at that, that's what you're doing every single week, is you're producing a live conference kind of event. Okay. Now, when we're live streaming that, there's this expectation for the people that are watching the live stream, is that they are watching this live event happen, and they are not there, but they are observing it happen and getting the information and participating at whatever level they can. Okay, that is typically what we're doing for our churches. Okay, now I always say that when you're doing something like that, even though you're doing a live event, you're live streaming an event and stuff, you still need to treat it as much as possible as a television show, because that's what people are used to seeing. So whether you're binging something on Netflix, or you get up in the morning and turn on the Good Morning Texas or whatever show, you have this level of quality and of I don't know, this thing, this vibe, this je ne sais quoi, that is TV, and I know it when I see it, right? So when we're live streaming our church, we need to keep those sort of things in mind. We need to make sure that we understand that the people that are watching this are not like the people in the room. They are that are sitting there looking over a few heads and seeing someone up there on the stage kind of small. When you're in that environment, you adjust to being in that environment. When you're participating remotely, when you're watching a live stream, when you're watching TV, you expect to see things a whole lot closer. So just little simple basics like zooming the camera up and tracking the pastor as they're going. I can't tell you what, Justin, one of the things I see all the time with live streams, and we do a lot of live stream audits, is that they set the camera so that the stage is framed in the camera, and then the pastor is that big, and he walks from one side to the other, back and forth, and he's really small. You guys ever try to watch that on this screen? You ever try to watch it on your phone? You're asking someone in their 60s who's at home with a 6-inch screen or a 5-inch screen and trifocals on. You want them to have to focus on that? That's kind of jerky. You wouldn't be watching that TV show if you were skipping through your channels, would you? But we're asking them to do that. So there's that type of a service, and we'll go into a lot of practical stuff in this series on how to make that, even with low-end equipment, how to make that TV watching experience for the people remotely, how to make it really good. Now, on the other side, which a lot of churches have had to do over the last 3 months, because we couldn't meet together physically, is do that virtual church or that remote church type thing. That's completely different. In your standard worship service, your standard live event that happens, your pastor is up there just like any other speaker and is talking to 150, 200, whatever people in the room. And if you've ever done any public speaking, the best thing to do is to identify 2 or 3 or 4 people in that crowd that you can make eye contact with. And as you're walking around talking and you're speaking and stuff, you look for the people that are nodding and that you see that are are working with you, and you focus on those people, and you just kind of get into this routine of going here, going there, talking to the person in the middle, going here, there, in the middle. You get into that routine. Well, when you're watching this remotely, you're used to seeing your pastor do things like that. And it's not that big of a deal. Now, when you do virtual church and there is no audience, you have to shift your focus. And I am now producing a television show, and this is a television show with one host, or the worship pastor is one of the hosts, and the pastor is the other host. So you do it where the pastor is talking directly to the camera, like I'm talking to you. That brings a much more intimate environment, a much more you guys are feeling closer to me because I'm looking at the camera and I'm talking to you. And so if you're looking at my eyes and I'm looking at your eyes, we're making eye contact and we're making a connection. And I mean, believe it or not, psychologically, we're developing a friendship that neither of us even realizes is happening. That same sort of thing needs to happen. Justin's church, they're the type of stuff that they do with their church, dealing directly with the camera, is much more effective like that. So there's a whole nother set of rules when you're doing stuff like that. And that's something that we'll talk about in here as well, and some of the technical things that you can do to make sure that that can happen. So virtual church / remote church, whatever you want to call it, you know, that's the more one-on-one type of thing, versus, you know, the live event, you know, streaming your church service, that type of thing. So we're going to hit it from both sides. Did I cover enough? Did I cover too much? Am I wandering, Justin?
I think it was just right.
Perfect.
Goldilocks, Dave. This is perfect. Yeah, very good.
There.
Yeah, so we've got a lot. We got a few questions coming in. What I love seeing, especially on our YouTube channel and a little bit on the Facebook group with Ecamm, we treat the comments section like the church foyer, where there could be stuff going on in the classrooms, in the Sunday school rooms, in the group rooms. There could be service going on. But if you're out in the foyer, there could be people coming in. They're having conversations. They're finishing their coffee with their friends. I know from a leadership side, it's very frustrating. Like, church is starting. Why aren't they in here? But you don't go out and start shushing everyone in the foyer because service has started. It's the foyer. It's a place to commune. It's a place to fellowship. It's a place to before COVID, you know, hug and shake hands and talk to your friends real close. But we always say the comment section is like the foyer. So sometimes people will ask questions and other people will jump in and they'll start conversing with someone. You know, there's a conversation about Star Trek going on about 10 minutes ago. There's a conversation about SDI going on in the YouTube channel. There's other conversations. So if you don't feel like the comment section has to be asking questions to us or answering a question, sometimes if you have an answer for someone that asks a question, put in your feedback in the comments and you know, have some conversations, have some dialogues. Real quick, I want to get to a couple more questions here, Dave, before we have to go.
Okay.
So Big D asked, we're currently using Wirecast, and it's a resource hog. They're looking at OBS as an alternative. What's the major advantage with Ecamm Live versus Wirecast versus OBS? So I guess what are some of the differences that you see?
Okay. So first off, Wirecast has been around for a long time. It is one of the major players in the space. It was what I looked at doing, and I played with it and stuff. But yes, it is a resource hog. It's also really capable. It's a great piece of software, no two ways about it. But it's heavy, and so I wrote Wirecast off pretty quick. It's also really expensive. At least it was when I was looking. Okay, it is good software. Okay, it's really heavy. On the PC side, I prefer using vMix. Because vMix can be expensive depending on what package you get. So on the PC side, I go that route. On the Mac side, if you literally have no budget, and I mean no budget, nobody in our church is able to fork over, you know, $20 a month or $30 a month or whatever it is, to put a little something in place. Then OBS is where you want to start. OBS is open source. OBS stands for Open Broadcaster Software. It's open source. You can go download it and install it. It's ugly. It's an ugly baby, but it's capable. Okay, it's really good. It was designed by and for gamers. So Justin sitting at home playing his Xbox, and he wants to stream Call of Duty to his Twitch channel. He could use the OBS, install it on his PC, get a capture card, run the Xbox into there, and turn on his webcam, and you see him in the corner talking as he's playing his game, and that's really great. They needed that solution. Some gaming nerds got together and wrote this software, and then it's kind of grown from there. Okay, it has a really wide support base. There's a lot of stuff. There's plugins. There's all kinds of great stuff. It's wonderful. Okay, but it's clunky. Okay, if you want to spend a lot of time figuring it out, dialing it in, and that's your trade-off for free. Okay, I've used it for years. I love it. Okay, when it comes to Ecamm, and we have a large install base of Mac OS systems out on there, especially at churches because they're using ProPresenter. That's kind of the standard for the software that we use to put the lyrics and play videos and do stuff like that on the big screens. So they realize, hey, there's this install base. Let's put a little something together. And it turns out that it's great for churches. It's great for individuals. It's great for you, for me, Justin, just doing our own little thing right here on our computer. I want to go live and I want to do more than just have my webcam. Then Ecamm is great. It's very user-friendly. It's very straightforward. And once you get used to the little nuances and where things are and stuff, it's really easy to just sort of jump in and do it. And the quality is good. And it's like you said, they are very responsive. But a lot of people may not know. I'm sorry, what was that?
Sorry. I muted the stream, but Dave did still heard me yelling at my dogs.
Oh, okay, that's funny. I was like, dude, what are you doing?
Usually I'm on the interview end, so I hit mute and then I yell at my dogs, but I forgot I'm hosting. So I muted the stream, my mic on the stream, but I didn't mute it on Skype. So Dave just heard me yelling at my dogs.
Yeah, Justin has Tourette's, apparently. The swearing kind. But y'all don't know this. Justin and I do because we know some of the people on their team. One of the things that's great about Ecamm is that they are a small and nimble team. It's not a gigantic corporation out there that you got to go through a million different layers to actually get to somebody, or get a feature or get something fixed. You're able to just kind of reach out to them, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is a problem. Let's fix it." And next thing you know, there's an update. It's great. They take a lot of care and a lot of pride. So, and it's not expensive, guys. How much is the subscription for Ecamm?
15, I think, a month if you pay monthly. For the basic, I think Katie will correct me if I'm wrong, but it's very affordable. For me personally, when I came into streaming at my church, we had Wirecast. And my first experience, unfortunately, with Wirecast was the guy who was doing the streaming said, "Here's the file, the configuration file on the desktop. Open it from there because it's working and we don't know how to do it from scratch. So if we ever lose that configuration file, we're in trouble." That was unfortunately my first experience with Wirecast. Then followed by Facebook updated some stuff, but if you want it, if you want these features, you're going to have to update Wirecast, and it's going to be another $100. We had to pay for updates. Didn't really care for that. OBS, I watched your videos, Dave, on OBS, and you make it look so easy. Kind of like our favorite wide receivers running a 40 really quickly looks super easy. It's not. And I just again, I'm all fists when it comes to OBS. I can basically stream and run some videos and maybe add some text to it, but beyond that, it's like, oh boy, once you start getting into bit rate and different things, I'm like falling asleep. And Ecamm, again, it is Mac only. I also really enjoyed vMix. I got a little bit hands-on with it. There are other things, but we dropped a link in the YouTube, and Katie dropped a link in the Facebook where you can see all the streaming softwares side by side. But I'm a big fan of Ecamm. You are too, on PC, vMix. And then, of course, if you have absolutely no budget, but you got time, OBS can absolutely work. A few more questions here. Chris had a question real quick. Chris Ochinsky.
Yeah.
On OBS, the settings were changed to a softer video feed. The original was a higher contrast. Where can she change the settings back to the original?
Yeah, I don't know. That's something that we'll get into,
Oh,
Chris, in our next mastermind group session. Which,
cool.
by the way, is one of the things that you're actually able to have access to is like private group coaching. Private group, is that right? Those seem mutually exclusive. Small group coaching,
There you
something
go.
that
Yeah.
you and I do when folks join Church Training Academy. Yeah.
Let's see. Wireless mics. Jamie asked wireless. He said wireless mic options for Ecamm. But are there any good wireless mics you can use to connect into your computer for streaming?
Okay, well, when it comes to, well, I mean, we're talking church, right? So in your church, I'm assuming that you guys have some sort of a PA system type setup. So whatever you guys are using there, that's where you want to start. If you are like want to use Ecamm to do basically like what Justin and I are doing and wanting to use wireless mics, yeah, I mean, there's various things out there. There's stuff from Audio Technica. There's stuff from Rode. There are these these digital ones, and they range anywhere from $100 to two, three, $400. I mean, I use Sennheiser, so I've got Sennheiser G3 packs that are about $600 a set. They're really good. At our church, we use Shure and Audio Technica stuff. So there's a lot of them out there. Basically, you need to remember that that all that audio and video hardware is audio and video hardware. Okay, so hooking your camera up to your television is or hooking your camera up to a capture card is no different than hooking your camera up to your television. There's an HDMI port and you plug it in. Hooking up wireless audio is really no different than hooking up wireless audio for PA. You're going to have a receiver, and that receiver is going to have a plug that you've got to plug an audio. The output has to go into a channel on your mixer, or has to go into an input on the sound card on your computer. It's all basically the same kind of stuff. It's just what the input looks like. Okay, so what your church gear can be used here. You take an output from your mixer at your church, and like at the most basic sense, tape out. The little left and right, tape out, and going into the laptop, and then choosing the audio input for Ecamm, and now you've got the mixer from the church feeding your live stream. It's all basically the same stuff, and we can get into a little bit of that minutia and all that. But good wireless packs, Sennheiser, Audio Technica, Rode. Those are kind of the Shure. Those are the stalwarts.
Yeah, and if it is like a wireless pack that has an XLR out, you can just get a USB mixer to bring it into the computer, right?
No, sure, absolutely. Or like a PreSonus USB audio box, or
Yeah.
Bill and Ted excellent USB audio adapter.
Yeah, and there's no shortage of them because musicians use them all the time.
Yeah, in fact, if you guys go to kit.co, put the link in there, guys. Kit.co/church media, guys. We've got several different hardware. We haven't put together configurations yet, but we have hardware for various usage and stuff. And there's mixers. We're still working on the audio hardware, and the reason we're still working on the audio hardware is because church type setups are kind of specific, because you've got a large audience and you're doing you're doing concert level kind of PA kind of thing, and then trying to bring that into a recording is a little bit different. So anyway, but right there, kit.co/church media guys, I believe it is.
Cool. And this will be the last question we take of the day, but we are taking notes and we can answer some stuff in the comments. Let me pull it back up because I lost it. Sharon said, I think this is a really good question. So Canon came out with the new software that will allow you to bypass having to need a capture card. Sharon asked,
Yeah.
do you really need a capture card now that Canon has the software?
So what I understand, and I don't have any of the Canon mirrorless cameras or DSLRs and you're a couple of generations back, I believe, as far as support for your DSLR, your Canon DSLR. But basically, you're using the USB port on there to pass the live view, but without the menus or without the on-screen graphics and stuff to pass that over. Um, my understanding is it's not a full HD image. It's a 540 by 940 or something like that. It's not a full HD image. Okay, so um, I'm on a budget and I have a Canon M50 and I need to get it over here, and I can't spend 50 or $150 on a capture card. Then yeah, that's a great way to go and to get started. Okay, but I always say, man, grab a capture card, because even if you buy a $50 capture, I've got one out in the garage I'm getting ready to do a review on. The one that Justin is using was like $75 or $80, something like that. Generic Bill and Ted's excellent HDMI capture card. Okay, plugs into a USB 3 port, got an HDMI jack on it. You plug in, and there you go. The amount of video data that's going to be coming out of your HDMI port is going to be at a minimum like 50 megabits, which means there's a lot of data, a lot of visual data in that stream that you are then able to manipulate for your live stream. You've got really high quality coming in here. You're going to get good quality just because of the optics that you have in your Canon cameras, your DSLRs and your mirrorless that support the use of the OBS webcam software. The USB web software that they have, the webcam driver that they have. You are going to be able to get a great image simply because of the chip and the optics that you have in that camera. A better lens is going to be a better looking image, but you still have low quality data coming out, if that makes sense. Okay, so to my knowledge, unless something's changed, you're not going to get 1920 by 1080 at 30 frames a second or 60 frames a second, but you will if you have the HDMI output going into a capture card.
Yep. It's basically the same as having like an external or an added video card, doing a lot of extra stuff, so your computer doesn't have to. Especially if you're using something like Wirecast, you're already using a lot of resources. You're going to have some more issues if you're going direct into the computer and using more computer resources to try to render all that out. So if you can, I mean, I think the Canon app is a really good stopgap. If your cap card is back ordered or if it goes down on a Sunday, I think you should, even if you have a capture card, have it installed on your computer. If that capture card ever goes out, you can still stream with that as a backup. 100%. We're all about redundancy and backup. We are just so excited that we got to be here in the Ecamm universe. We're in a different universe now. We hope that you guys enjoyed this. We have several people watching over on both in Facebook and YouTube. We have Chris, we have Dwight, we have Tommy, we have Christopher. We have a few more that they're not on my screen right now, but these folks here are called CTA Insiders, and this is our insider program where we can dive deep with you into your unique church struggles, needs, and opportunities. You can go to churchtraining.com/join to check it out. There's a membership So go ahead.
Churchtrainingacademy.com.
What did I say?
Churchtraining.com.
Oh, churchtrainingacademy.com/join, and you can see the program. Basically, the program covers three things. Number one, you get access to our training, live streaming, audio streaming, podcast, websites. We're doing volunteer team building right now. You get access to our private Facebook group where me and Dave answer your questions direct, just like we're doing now, but we actually record training inside of there too. And then you also get access to our mastermind where we meet 4 times a month and we actually dialogue with you about your unique church situations, your budget, your purchase proposals, your opportunities, your obstacles, and all of that. And that's incredibly valuable. So we've got a few people here that will tell you exactly how awesome it is. And Dave, Big D, that's been watching yesterday and has been asking questions today, that's Dwight, who just joined up yesterday. So when he was like, yeah, I just joined yesterday. And I was like, oh, no way. I didn't know it was him. So awesome. Well, so welcome.
That's awesome. Hey, yeah. Dwight, you go and join the insiders.
Yeah, he's already in the group, so we're good. We're good. I invited him yesterday. So anyways, go check that out. If you have further questions, if you don't want to wait until next week to ask your question and hope we answer it or hope we cover your topic in the next few weeks, if you become a CTA Insider, we can answer it today or tomorrow. It's that fast. And then you can actually dialogue with us and you can get more than just a 30-second answer. We can actually go into why you have that issue and how you can uniquely solve it. So churchtrainingacademy.com/join if that interests you. Dave, you got anything else you wanna say before we go?
No, this has been a lot of fun. Listen, everything that we've been talking about, start taking these things, putting them into action, and use it to go change lives, because that's what we're all about here, is taking these talents and this technology and the gifts that God's given us and changing lives with this. So go change lives. We'll see you guys in the next show.